Hi, welcome to John and Dylan Online. I'm Dylan Gott.
Hi, I'm John. I'm John Tyson. I'm a new character. I'm Don King's newest signing. He just signed me. I'm going to be the champion of the world.
Don King, famous promoter, very famous in the 80s and 90s. Now, still not dead. Because why, John?
Evil wins.
Because, yeah, evil doesn't pay.
Yeah, evil doesn't pay. Here's the lesson of Don King. Let's all be thankful Donald Trump became the president and Don King didn't. Because here's the thing, Don King and Donald Trump, same guy, in that they're just like, they just are like, I know how to convince the world I'm that thing. I'll just be a cartoon version of something that no one's seen before, and they'll go along with it.
I think Don King is way smarter than Donald Trump.
That's why he didn't become the president. Because he was like, no, they'll look into my crimes if I do that. I'll stay right here with a bunch of, I'll just keep wearing a denim jacket at formal events, and
He got out of that. It was manslaughter.
I mean, yeah, but all the financial crimes, it is like that guy was a financial criminal on like like Bernie Madoff was like, whoa, that's inappropriate with other people's money, Don.
Hey, you can do financial crimes and be a politician, John. You know that.
No, but to the level of like Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis are like, it's $100 million he stole from me. Like, it's so, and he's like, I didn't though. Only in America.
Well, no, he does, which is funny because we've both worked for comedy companies like this.
Yeah.
But he just does it, but way more on a higher scale. There's the thing where he's like, the boxer was going to get $3 million and Don King was going to get $3 million. He's like, I get 4, he gets 2. There's no way a boxer's making more than me.
Look
That's
at my
good.
hair. Yeah, there's like Evander Holyfield did some accounting, and there was like, okay, so my opponent got 41 million, I got 36 million, and Don King got 5 million. He just took $5 million from me, and he's like, yeah, man.
No, wait. That's fine.
Is it
That's
fine?
a fine amount.
Well, it's fine. It's fine in that it's legal because it was in the contract, buried deep, and you're just like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, that's the thing. So here's the story of Don King. Dylan, would you like to start it?
Sure. Don King starts as a street tough. Do you know what a street tough is?
He's a guy that wears a newsy hat. He's a ruffian. He was smoking filter cigarettes in the 20s, even though he was born in the 30s. It's just one of those things where it's like he's, a time when criminals were the kind of person that was just wearing a suit but no jacket. You know what I mean? That's how you knew who the criminals
big
were.
pants, zoot suits.
Zoot suits minus the jacket. Oh, that guy's definitely involved in crime. You know what I mean? He worked at something called what was it called? A prospect house? Privilege house?
No, he was a numbers guy.
He was a numbers guy. He worked in gambling houses all over Cleveland, Ohio. And basically, Don King is the kind of he's an organizational sociopath who just wants money. So basically, anytime he gets near any sort of organization, he just streamlines it perfectly to get the money to him. Like, he joins a bunch of different gangs, quickly unites them all under him, and then as soon as the heat comes on, he blabs on everyone, earns a nickname, the Mouth. And then the mafia is like, we can't deal with this guy. He's a rat. And then he just takes over the numbers in Ohio, and they were like, well, he has all the money and we need that money, so we work with him. And that's the story of Don King, where you're like, we can never work with this guy again. Oh, no, you don't understand. He somehow bought the planet you live on, so he's made it so he is God. And you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, his house was bombed, and that's when he was like, maybe I should get into something else. No, he killed the guy, and that's when he was like, I think I'm going to get into boxing. And the way he does it was, and this is from what everyone says, is there'll be a large group of people around anybody and their entourage, and he finds the weak one.
Yeah, he does two things. He finds the mom, and he finds the weak one. And he exploits it for information, so it always seems like he's like this fun, nice uncle, in the same way that he portrays himself in the press. Like the big high hair, the ridiculous flags everywhere, it's all an image to be like, I'll tell you who couldn't have stomped anyone to death. That guy who's dressed like an American flag troll doll.
Yeah, exactly. Look at that. He's a fun guy. Look at him do his handstand. Anyway, he just punched your aunt.
Yeah. What? Also, this is the thing that's also the biggest indictment. If you stomp someone to death named Stan, which is that's like robbing someone named Norman. Like that guy, no one named Stan is putting up a fight. He's just Donald. You, like,
Well, he did it in front of a cop.
He did it in front of the entire street. He stomped an employee to death and then was like, he didn't do what I told him to do, and I was doling out punishment. And it was the 50s, so they were like, that's a good point. He just went too far. And then Don King was like, also, I like, oh, this is what I read into it, which no one talks about, because Don King has, as it comes out, very heavy ties to the mafia, where it's like, how did Don King get manslaughter for beating a man to death? He bribed the judge, you fucking idiots. Like, what do you think he did?
Yeah, he rules.
Yeah, he's a high
rules it. He's a very good criminal.
Yeah, he's a high-level mafia criminal. Everyone's like, how did he charm his way out of that? And he's like, he bribed someone. He's in charge. He's the king of the illegal lottery in the Midwest. What do you fucking think he did?
Yeah, he got 4 years. They wanted the death penalty. He got 4 years.
Yeah. I'll compromise 5 years.
And then he was like, all right, what's the next thing I can do that? Oh, I'll just hang out with Muhammad Ali. Like, it's just like...
No, Dylan. Incorrect. He's much shadier, and this is the most similar thing to a comedian I've ever seen in my entire life. Finds a week in with Joe Frazier's entourage, goes to the Frazier Foreman fight. In the ring after Foreman beats the fuck out of Joe Frazier, on the video you could literally see Don King be like, time to switch sides, baby.
Oh, yeah, he switches. He goes from Frazier to Foreman's side, and then the other thing is he was banging on George Foreman's door afterwards because he was like, let's party, come on, I'm your friend now. It's good stuff.
I've seen two versions of that. Both of them made me feel very uncomfortable. One of which was a guy tried to get a free beer by pretending to be the nephew of Karen Corrin, the head of Gilded Balloon in Edinburgh, and was caught because the bartender went, Karen Corrin's nephews would have a Scottish accent. You don't have a Scottish accent. And then the guy went, I do, though. And then he just went, fuck you. And it was very funny.
Props to that guy.
Oh, yeah. Second time, by the way, it just definitely worked. Is the guy just, he kept just saying, I'm very successful in New York. I can help you get New York contacts. Got contacts for London. Got into all those clubs. Was never passed anywhere in New York. It was all fake.
That's great. What was there was some guy's friend got bored and just said he was a producer, and then just a bunch of people talked to him at the Gilded Balloon, and he got free drinks.
Yeah, it was the best one. Yeah, that's a couple of people have done that now. Also, when I brought my now ex-wife to Edinburgh, it went around because she worked at a theater in Montreal that there was a JFL scout that I was hanging out with. And it's just like, fucking comedians are fucking rats, man. It's the best.
Comedians rule, and that is good.
Oh, yeah, just the funniest, like, just so easy to convince.
So, Don King goes over and becomes in with George Foreman. He ends up getting the Rumble in the Jungle made.
Now, how, Dylan, does he get the best thing about Don King is he kind of just does that is actually the easiest way to do everything. How does he get the Rumble in the Jungle?
He becomes a dictator of a third world country.
No, he becomes friends with a dictator of a third world country, you silly goose.
But I mean, that's still happening today.
That's the thing. Well, everyone is like, can you believe he did that? And I'm like, yeah. The last Tyson Fury fight took place inside a stadium called Repress Women's Rights Stadium in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Well, what was it? I forget who said this, but it is in the documentary about Rumble in the Jungle where when we were kings, and I forget who says it, but he's like, you want to make a big boxing match? Find a dictator who wants to promote tourism.
Oh my God, it's Norman Lear. It's the not Norman Lear, poor me. It's Norman Mailer says it. Norman Mailer is the best part of that documentary. Just a half-cut 70-year-old who fought in World War II, who clearly, if born in a different time, could admit that he's like, look, I got some real fucked up stuff with my sexuality because I have tried to kill 2 of my wives, and I describe Muhammad Ali's body in a way that makes everyone think I want to wear it like a suit.
He's really good in that documentary. Here's one of my pet peeves about documentaries about boxing or sports is that they don't want to just have sports talking heads, so they kind of like get an author or something to class it up. And the worst version of this was Billy Crystal and Ken Burns baseball, where it's just him going like Willie Mays. He sounded a bit like this. Ship, dip, beep, 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 beep. I don't know. That's just a personal hatred for Billy Crystal I have, though.
First of all, Dylan, there's a reason why we are friends. Everything you just said, it's like you were literally reading the transcript of my thoughts. That's why When We Were Kings is the best sports documentary, is because everyone they speak to was not just like, I like the fight. It was like they were in the front row. Oh, I was the one who came up with the rope-a-dope. I just did a bunch of acid. Like, it's just like everyone is connected specifically to it. And then you were exactly correct. The most egregious opposite of that is Billy Crystal in Ken Burns baseball, because Billy Crystal has never contributed positively to anything. Billy Crystal is the human equivalent to a benign cyst. Just irritating in every way. Oh, it's not going to kill you, but you're going to have a annoyingly painful procedure. Not enough to have anesthetic, but you have a deep wound on your arm for a bit. Like, it's just like, fuck you, Billy. Billy Crystal, if you ever want to live in hell, Billy Crystal's autobiography is the craziest book to read. And I combined it by reading Martin Short's autobiography. And it's like reading two sides of the same coin. And a deeply talented, calm man from Hamilton, and then the worst version of Americans ever. I'll tell you why people don't respect me, because they can't handle how good I am at blackface. I guarantee is what Billy Crystal.
Well, I mean, have you read his autobiography then?
Yes.
Okay, nice. And what part in it specifically did you hate?
Every word written on every single. He is so like, I've never read someone speaking about their father's death and thought he's really made this about him.
So why? What is he like? Is he like? Here's why people don't think I'm funny. They're fucking assholes.
Everything is rage, and everything is. And then if I had been listened to, or if they had like, everything comes back to, let me tell you who's a winner here. It's me, Bill.
Me, Billy Crystal.
Like, it's just fuck off. I stand with Jim Rome, who said that someone should open up a pitch on Billy Crystal when he, you know how he'll take batters practice with the Yankees when they're doing spring training. I think it was Jim Rome was like, I'll give him 50. One of the pitchers just fucking bean Billy Crystal for me, and I was like, I want this known right now. If anyone wants me, if they want to create a clip that I will jack off to that is not sexual, it's Billy Crystal getting hit with a baseball.
Well, I guess it's like, if it was just the end of the 90s and he had just been like, I'm done with acting, then everyone would be like, this is great. This is When
That's
Harry
correct.
Met Sally.
Oh my God, weirdest movie ever. He's the least fuckable male rom-com lead ever, where it's like, hey, ladies.
That is so funny, where Meg Ryan is adorable, and they're like, and she's with this dog they found that's a bloated corpse.
Yeah, she's with this guy who thinks a solution to fucking looking hot is a knitted sweater.
Well, I mean, maybe he had a lot of money. Anyway, John, he does it again. Don King does, where he makes the Rumble in the Jungle. Ali beats Foreman, and then he befriends Muhammad Ali. It's great.
Yeah, he becomes Muhammad Ali, and then now it becomes this very weird dance where it's basically Muhammad Ali does not trust Don King, but also needs money all the time, so Don King is also constantly fucking him over. But it's hard for Muhammad Ali's entourage keeps switching, and also a lot of the people in the entourage are Nation of Islam people who at this time do not fuck around. Like, they full-on murdered Malcolm X. Like, it's not like these are like, Don King is a full criminal and understands where it's like, I can scam a bit, but like the money he's fraudulently steals from Muhammad Ali, so much less than who he steals from later on. Like,
well, he just exploits Ali's whole thing, where it's like a lot of Ali's inner circle, including his personal doctor, are like, you cannot fight anymore. And then Don King's like, yes, you can. These people are fucking assholes. So it's like exploiting his ego. You need absolutely everybody in your life to be telling you the same thing to stop boxing, I assume. Because it's like, you get a bunch of money, and then everyone thinks you're the toughest person of all time.
And then, this leads to the Thriller in Manila, which I always forget how fucking intense the Thriller in Manila. Like, everyone always talks about the Rumble in the Jungle, but it's 8 rounds. It's so amazing because of the rope-a-dope at the end, but the thrill in Manila is like, hey, you know how we are concerned about CTE? It is specifically because of these two guys and what they do to each other over the next few hours here in a country with a dictator. Like, it is...
Yeah, it's just a bunch of them finding sweet-ass dictators.
Oh, yeah, he's like, let me...
Different ones, because it's not... It was small business was a thing in the 70s. It's not the same brutal dictatorship like in Saudi. It's a bunch of them, like in Manila and... Was it Zimbabwe? Rumble in the Jungle? No.
No, Rumble in the Jungle was Congo. Oh, fuck, it's changed names too many times. Oh, no. Zaire, it's in Zaire, you motherfucker. Fuck you. Fuck your mother.
So... my favorite thing about the UFC is the Abu Dhabi UFC 112, where I forget the time frame, but basically they were like, we want to have UFC 112 in Abu Dhabi, and then Dana White was like, you don't have a stadium, and they were like, give us a couple months, and then through human life and suffering, they built a stadium in it was like extremely short amount of time. Like, I want to say 3 months, and it was like it was beautiful, and anyway, and that's when Dana White was like, "Oh yeah, get my own Dana White slaves." Oof.
It is. You've really tipped me to be like you. Oh yeah, like we need to be worried about the world and who is going to. What everyone doesn't realize is here's my prediction: Dana White runs for president in 2028.
I can see that. He also calls Donald Trump on television the president. Like, they are the ultimate January 6th was good championship. Like, it's. And they're allowed on ESPN. It's fucked up, man. It's really fucked up.
Ariel Helwani made the most amazing point. This is why Ariel Helwani, in terms of just, he's an amazing journalist, and it's amazing that he just covers UFC because he could, I think, do like amazing good, but he's just a nerd whack job and just needs to be like. He said this amazing thing about Dana White. He's like, people don't understand he's not a political person. He only views the world through furthering the UFC, which he thinks is him. And Trump helped out the UFC at times. So in Dana White's head, it's like, Trump is good. Everything Trump does is good because that's me. I am good. And so he's like, they will always back Trump and they will follow him down the rabbit hole because it's like they have this weird set of like loyalties to. And if you break it, you like, and he's like that. And it's of course, and it's such an interesting point. You're like, oh my God, it's not political. He's just like, this guy helped us out with a gaming commissioner in 2004. Build the camps.
Yeah, and he is so much less charming than Don King, where Don King had to use a lot of sugar. Well, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's we know why. You imagine if a black person tried to do what Dana White does, where it's just like any type of a journalist
strike him. I guess there would be a Predator drone YouTube video. He would be that Lamborghini, and just someone would be that helicopter with fireworks. You know what I'm saying? Like they just
it'd just be erased from the earth.
Yeah, exactly. Like they just know. Like this, especially speaking of Abu Dhabi and dictators and Dana White v. Don King. Like Don King didn't like walk around and be like, "Look, it's great." He would be like, "Well, you don't like Law and Order? The streets are clean." Like he would try and like charm it out. Dana White is just like, "Well, it's good they do that. The gyms in Abu Dhabi are so much nicer than the gyms and hotels in America. I don't like my parents, and I like Abu Dhabi." Like, it's just like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, there's such a good juxtaposition where it's like Don King actually had to be this inventive cartoon character while basically being, you know, Kaiser Sose of financial crime. And Dana White can literally just walk around like shaved, like a shaved mutant experiment from the MCU, just walking around being like, I like smelling panties, I like slapping my wife, and I like it when Sean Strickland reads books to me.
Well, it was the thing where it's like if you wanted to get in television in those days, Don King was always on TV because he was super flamboyant, very good at promoting a fight, and he used Foreman, Frazier, and Ali to make himself famous.
Absolutely. And then also just very quickly then moved on to what? Brutally exploiting the fighters and creating a situation where boxing basically was destroyed as a sport because he, like, anytime they would try and he tried to start a league at one point, which just turned into him trying to promote all these super weak fighters. so that like there wouldn't be much competition for the champ. I don't really know what the plan there was. Like basically blackballed any other promoter that had stronger fighters than the fighters he was associated with, and ended up costing ABC a shitload of money. He was constantly switching around champions. He would fuck over and then make sure to work with a variety of boxing promoters. He had a big problem with the Ring magazine because they kept track of stats. They wouldn't let him exaggerate fighters' records. They would accurately review fighters' performances, all this sort of things. Also, Don King has a bunch of defenders now, and that Don King would stack the undercard. He would make it an interesting show. It would be very lively. Like some people now go like, boxing's problem is it's just like one interesting fight. And I'm like, maybe we want to say this. Maybe boxing has a lot of problems.
Well, it's the whole thing of the promoters took over. They're exactly what you're saying. Like the thing that the UFC has over boxing is it's one centralized league, like every other major North American sport. And boxing isn't like that. Don King was a wave. He was always at the center of the heavyweight champion. That's what he believed in, and that there's no coincidence that his like influence fell off once he couldn't convince the Klitschko's. I don't know if do you know the story about how he tried to convince the Klitschko's to sign him?
I do not.
So they like classical music. So he was like, "Is this your piano?" And they're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Let me play a bit." And then this like beautiful music comes out, and then one of the Klitschko's looks over, and he's just like doing this, but his phone's right there. Like he had rigged up the piano.
Fuck yeah.
And then they're like, "Get the fuck out of!" And then that was like, that's the end of Don King as like a super big promoter. Not only his age, just like that. If he would have been with the Klitschko's, he'd still be around.
Do you think that he tried to get in with Tyson Fury? I guarantee he did. I guarantee there is cell phone camera footage out there somewhere of John Fury and Don King fighting and making out.
Well, that's probably a weird thing where it's like he probably fucked him over in like the 80s because John Fury was just like a fucking sandbag heavyweight who would just get knocked out by like bigger, he would just be brought in to puff up people's records. So
he was also Mike Tyson's sparring partner because he has some punching combination that's like incredibly deadly, and it was used to train Tyson against someone else. That also all comes from John Fury. It's very possible that I saw him in a pub once, and that turned into I was a sparring partner with Tyson. Like, who the fuck knows? John Fury's the fucking nuttiest man in the world. But you also make a good point. The other thing with Don King is Don King also, it's sort of he became too much of a character under Mike Tyson. So basically what happens is there's the Muhammad Ali deal. Eventually, Muhammad Ali is like having a variety of health problems while having a giant lawsuit against Don King, which Don King doesn't want to have happen because it's going to open up his books. He eventually gets Ali to agree while going through a giant medical episode that nearly ends his life to drop the lawsuit for $50,000. And apparently Muhammad Ali's lawyer cried when he did that because
that's good.
The case against Don King was so strong they would have gotten the money. It was just Muhammad Ali needed the money then, and it probably would have stopped Don King from heading into the 80s, which I like to call the exploitation zone.
That's pretty sweet, though, that he got to do that.
Yeah, it is pretty sweet that he was able to take advantage of not getting caught for fraud against a guy because that guy got Parkinson's, so he could just hold him over a barrel and give him 1% of what was owed to him.
Don King is like very good at scumbaggery, and he obviously we're missing out on the part where he takes control of Mike Tyson's career shortly after Cus D'Amato dies.
Yeah,
and he gets Tyson away from his original trainers to like basically make the only people that Tyson can confide in Don King's people, and then. People say that led directly to him losing to Buster Douglas, but I don't know. He probably would have lost in a couple years anyway. He definitely had already raped somebody.
Mike Tyson claims the reason why he lost to Buster Douglas is because he had the STD that makes you fucking your piss make a bunch of leaky discharge and makes your dick hurt. That's why.
Yeah, he didn't train, and then the other guy trained a lot, and that's a lot of it.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Buster Douglas is a man that no one has changed body shape faster between two TV appearances more than Buster Douglas. That guy is the best example of like, make sure you have a goal after your goal, or it's really going to fall apart. And his goal was to beat Mike Tyson. And then let me tell you, and I'm with Buster Douglas for that. He was like, well, I did the impossible. Let's sit down. And then
yeah, he had to just go in against Evander Holyfield and just get the shit kicked out of him. Which, sure, I mean, I would not. If there was one person I would want to get the shit kicked out of me by less, it would be Evander Holyfield because he was such a dirty fighter. It's like not only would you get punched, but you're also getting like kicked and headbutted and bit.
Yeah. Evander Holyfield.
Ow.
How often do you think Evander Holyfield is just like, fuck yeah, I was around the same time as Mike Tyson? Because everyone, like in my mind, Evander Holyfield is like, he's the calm, smooth presence in boxing. And you look back and he's like, all right, he's got 2 handguns. He's refusing to put them down in the 3rd round. And, I don't know how this happened, but he has somehow got a photo of his opponent's wife naked and he's pissing on it. I gotta tell you, this truly is the sport of kings. Like Evander, like Mike Tyson bit that fuck's ear, and now with the benefit of hindsight, everyone's kind of like, yeah, that you shouldn't have bit his ear, but also like, what the fuck were you doing?
Oh, yeah. Well, it was frustrating. I mean, he was losing. He was getting headbutted. Evander Holyfield, also one of those guys who has, like, I think he has, like, 8 kids by 8 different women or something. And
oh, yeah, baby.
He owned a house that was, like, $80 million, where it was like, how are you buying this? Like, someone gave you a loan, and then he was like, yeah, give me a loan. I'm good. But then, obviously, in public, he just goes, like, I love Jesus, and everything is for him. Have I given anything back? Absolutely not. About a $160 million house that I never intend to pay one bill for.
Yeah, I have some kids. I like them. I have other kids I do not like.
Don King, he's around the whole time. There's also that movie that was what was it? What was the movie called?
It was The Great White Hype.
Great White Hype. And that, like, there's definitely Don King is in that movie, essentially.
Yeah, it's about Samuel L. Jackson is Don King, and it's about how that guy's like, here's the plan. It's about the real story of boxing's big goal was to find Tyson Fury, because they're like, look, enough with the black people. We need some white fighters.
Well, it was Jerry Cooney versus Larry Holmes was the fight in 1980 after Tyson, where he was like, will white men beat black men? Oh, tune in, and then people watched it, and there's a lot. If you watch, there's a Legendary Nights on that fight, which is like an old HBO thing where they talk about old fights, and it is some of the stuff they have. If someone watches it, their uncle or dad saying on tape is fucked up.
I mean, nothing is more. There's something jarring about the New York accent not liking being racist, because you're like, sure, there's no distance between you and someone of a different ethnicity or religion. Like you are angry about this about someone who is centimeters away from you. You know what I mean? Where you're like, whoa, no.
Can you do a New York accent?
Yeah, hi.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, I'm from Queens.
Hey, everybody, I'm from the Bronx, and I don't there you go.
Let me do my Bronx accent for you. Let me do it for you.
Hello, I'm from the Bronx. I love that Cardi B. She's also from the Bronx.
Well, that's good.
That's right.
Is she from the Bronx, or is Jenny? It was Jenny from the Block.
Who?
Jennifer Lopez. She got her tour canceled, and then she divorced her husband.
I mean, I gotta tell you, welcome to show business. Honey, are you okay? I will be as soon as you get your shit out of my house, you fucking piece of shit. How can you do this to me? I'm Benji Boy. Get out, Benji Boy.
2 people from the 90s, remember? The more 90s stuff. Affleck, J-Lo, fucking...
Affleck is eternal. How dare you? Affleck transcends time.
Stood up for Weinstein. That's something he did.
I mean, you remember him. What's weird is people don't remember how long he stood up for Weinstein. It wasn't until 2023 where he's like, whoa... I watched some more of his movies. They weren't that good. Maybe there's something to these allegations.
Turns out he's not hiring anymore, so he's bad now.
Oh, yeah. Turns out that movie studio is no longer controlled by a guy who's in jail. So it was bad what he did. I want to make Good Will Hunting too, but it's just about that guy just having sex with cool people. You want to make a porn, Ben? Yeah.
It's so funny that that Affleck and J-Lo got divorced that quickly after that Dunkin' Donuts commercial.
Did they actually get divorced? I didn't think that they got
divorced.
I thought that was... Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and then she was like, it was a horrible experience the whole time. And I was like, well, but I guarantee they like fucked twice. Someone took a picture and then everyone was like, oh, J-Lo and Ben Affleck are back together. And they both were like, fuck, we got to do this again.
Excuse me. It's only a rumor.
It's only a rumor.
It's only a rumor, although Jennifer Garner is sending a lot of poems with the theme of this too shall pass, and adding Ben Affleck on it, which points
Jennifer
to something.
Garner or Jennifer Lopez?
Jennifer Garner, Ben Affleck's ex-wife, who he co-parents with.
Oh, whoa, co-parenting.
And nothing really shows that people are just who they are. Nothing is more of a Gen X, I'm helping, but also this is very passive-aggressive by being like, there's a lot of rumors about my ex's marriage splitting up. I better post some vague poems about getting through something, and then make sure that the point is sent home by putting at Ben Affleck. This poem is about going through a struggle called "My Marriage Is Over," even though we were in a movie called Gigli. I wrote it.
What my niece, her mom was going through a breakup, and she started posting like those like pictures with the fucking typeface memes over it, and my niece unfollowed her own mom because she was so embarrassed. She's like, you can't do this on my feed, Mom.
I respect that. I respect that.
Like one of those, like one of the hyper fucking. She's like, you are too young to be posting boomer memes, Mom. And it was like, my greatest friends become my greatest enemies, and my enemies will never be forgiven. And then it's like a fucking skeleton holding two guns like this. And she's like, unfollow, Mom. That's good stuff.
My favorite version of this ever, I think about this a lot, almost too much, which is someone posted, I'll tell you this about the COVID period of time, really find out which ones are who your friends are and who your enemies are, and someone posted underneath, you relapsed, we're still your friends, and I always am just like, oh, that's a really good social media dynamic right there.
Yeah, I gotta start posting a bunch of fucking sick memes, actually.
Yeah, I want to post a lot of those skeleton cowboy memes. You know what I mean? Those are the ones that are real cool.
Skeleton sucking another skeleton's dick, and it says, you're going to turn me back into the old me. I'm going to suck your dick.
Do you have any bros from your hometown that like have followed Jordan Peterson to Christianity? Because they have started posting some really good memes about like, you know what, there's a problem with that? Maybe try Jesus. And you're like, I think that these are actually making fun of Christians that you have found on the internet and are now just doing it for real, which the snake is eating its tail too much. Go fuck yourself.
All of the people that use social media still from my hometown are fall into two categories: family photos or still operating a shitty business, and I include myself in both of those.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As someone who follows you across all the boards, that's correct.
Yeah. There's a snowmobile sale. That's the only thing, and it's just them looking tired, being like, ugh.
Yeah. See, no, mine falls into three categories. No, four, which is family photos, promoting shitty business, whoa, politics, or my personal favorite, getting back into stand-up. I got a lot of those guys.
Getting back in.
You stayed in Toronto. You say because I started like Montreal, Ottawa. I had a lot more guys with jobs. Maybe I'm going to figure this out. No, I don't ever need to leave Peterborough, and those guys really fell off pre-pandemic, and now they're coming back, and they got some hot takes.
Maybe this fucking Trudeau guy isn't that good.
Oh, of course.
What do you think Don King would have been like on social media?
What do you think? I gotta tell you, I bet he would have. I don't know what he would be like. I'm actually surprised he's
Constant
not on
feuds.
social media.
Well, he's 90 years old. Also, he has the same posse of people that's been around him from the start, and they still have the same energy of like, we're up to something, but they're all like 85, which is so funny to me. It's all the Irishman. The Irishman is happening, and it's Don King's You imagine trying to be roughed up by an 85-year-old. You have to help him rough you up.
Yeah, exactly.
You still want to be valid, don't you? He is 92 years old.
Oh my God, how the fuck is he still alive?
And his wife died in 2010.
Here's my question. How often do you think Don King has reached out to Jake Paul?
I don't know. Don King also is on Instagram and somehow only has 6,000 followers. That's nuts.
That's crazy to me. But here's the weird thing is there's a shitload of people that to them they're like, oh, Mike Tyson's that guy who hosts the podcast I like. Like, this is the weird thing of there's just so much of a distance from that period of time that like no one's going to acknowledge who Don King is now because we just are too aware of his crimes.
But to be fair, I think he only joined Instagram recently. But anyway.
Well.
But everything is like all of his Instagram posts, like they're not even like well lit. Oh, he is, I believe, promoting Adrian Broner, who's one of the funniest. Like he's just a shitty boxer.
What a terrible name. I've never been less intimidated by anyone in my life. And in this corner, wearing beige, he looks bewildered. It's Adrian. What's his last name?
Broner. Adrian Broner was almost the next Floyd Mayweather, but then he loves booze.
Adrian Boner? Yeah, guess again.
He has a great interview where he beats a guy and then he goes, and I'm going to fuck your side piece. And then the guy runs into frame and goes, don't talk shit about my fucking side piece. I told you could say anything, but not my fucking side piece. And he's like, I'll fuck your side piece. It was pretty good.
That's really good. What is he? I didn't realize that Corey Holcomb had a boxing equivalent.
Oh, Corey Holcomb's the man.
Hey, for those who don't know who Corey Holcomb is, he is, oh my God, funniest bit ever about, yeah, you know, you have your regular children, and you got your side children. Oh my God. No, I don't come to your birthday. You're my side kid.
That's insane.
We go to the aquarium. Oh my God. Greatest.
That 7-minute thing about how Chappelle bombs all the time, and people were upset, and he's like, oh, whatever.
I mean, the podcast saga where it was discovered that his podcast studio was just a storage locker somewhere in L.A. because he wasn't paying exorbitant rental fees for a podcast studio.
I mean, that makes sense.
I mean, the Corey Holcomb is one of those things where I'm like, I'm so happy he's out there because that's someone I can point to as like, no, you need to understand what I'm dealing with in my industry. Like this man is a very successful example of it. And part of that is because he's just like, hey, guess what, Andy Griffin? You got hepatitis.
That's good.
For those of you who don't know who Corey Holcomb is, he is, I'm going to say my favorite current comedian. He's the fucking best.
Yeah, he's a comedian for scumbags for sure.
He's what Patrice O'Neal was pretending to be. What Patrice O'Neal like would claim to be, even though Patrice O'Neal, you have a wife and a daughter. What are you talking about? Let me tell you how women Corey Holcomb is literally like, let me tell you why I didn't show up to that show. Me and my wife got into a fight. She pulled a gun on me, and then I laughed, and then she shot me. Like, it's like, okay.
Say more about Don King, John.
So here's what happened with Don King. Mike Tyson happened. He fought a bunch. That was the 90s. My favorite time in boxing, which was everyone was very angry Mike Tyson existed. Anytime Mike Tyson walked to the ring, it's one of the most intensely weird things ever where they don't legitimately attack him for being a convicted rapist. They're just like, this guy's behavior inside the squared circle. That's the disappointment I'm upset about. Like, it's so bizarre how they treated Mike Tyson. And then, of course, you're like, and he's not a gentleman like this man, Evander Holyfield, who for some reason is in the ring killing birds.
Just to get under Tyson's skin because he loves
He's just getting under Tyson's skin. Tyson is not in this fight. This is, of course, the 90s also brings us the time a man had a fan contraption and he fell into the ring, and I believe it was Evander Holyfield or Mike Tyson's entourage for no reason beat the shit out of him.
It was Riddick Bowe. Riddick Bowe's entourage beat the man half to death.
They beat the man half to death for the temerity of trying to be inventive. Don King is eventually accused of he gives a variety of testimonies about his ties to the mafia and just keeps pleading the fifth, but then gives very charming press conferences, and everyone's like, nothing to see here, of course. There's no way that boxing has massive ties to organized crime through this guy that has done nothing but work for organized crime his entire life. What else do you want from me? We're the cops. You know what I mean? And then it's just like he gets older. As you say, he's not able to secure the next wave because they're like, we're not falling for your scams, man. And he's like, but come on. I've only got
But it's
$100 million.
fun, man. It's a scam. Well, the
It's
other
fun.
thing was
I
that,
get money.
and it is weird to bring this up on a podcast where with two men that are almost see-through, was that Don King would always just be like, these other promoters are all white. You need to support black businesses. I'm black. And then he said that to the Klitschko's, and they were like, we're not black. And he was like, get me a tape recorder. I got to work at a piano trick.
Yeah, he's like, wait, what? Ah, shit.
Oh, no.
Where are you from? Where are you from? Where are the Klitschko's from?
Yeah, and then Anthony, Ukraine.
I love Kiev.
and then Anthony Joshua rises up, but he's British, which confuses and angers Don King.
Yeah.
It's basically like
I'm the king.
black.
No, there's no queen. I'm not Don Queen.
But for 30 years, the most profitable time in boxing was black American heavyweights ruled the roost, and so did Don King.
Yeah, it's also like he also identified the thing that I completely agree with, and this is the UFC's problem, is no matter what, when people hear heavyweight, they were like, well, that's the main one. And it's like,
it's big.
So much so, I think in part of that is like, because Don King like just stressed. We heard the word heavyweight yelled at us from the moment we were born until Mike Tyson bit a man's ear. So we just assumed like, yeah, heavyweight means the best one. Like, I do love the UFC, but I always am like, for the featherweight, oh, I didn't realize it was amateur hour. You know what I mean? Which is just like, that's not true. They're still getting hurt. The thing you like, these men are slowly dying. Don't worry. You're still getting the thing you like.
Well, it's also like anyone above 155 pounds, even 145 now, honestly, it's like those are people that are regular size. It's just they take crazy good care of their body and then also cut about 30 pounds of water weight. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
like the only time when you're getting into people who are legitimately small is like 125, 135. Then you're like, okay, this is actually a small person. Once you're above 145, though, it's just me. It's me if I took care of myself so much and then also was athletic even a bit.
Well, and also the weight cutting that goes on to this point is so insane when you realize that, like, oh no, in those divisions, they're cutting between, what was it, like, it's like 25 to 35 pounds.
Yeah.
And it's like, Jesus Christ.
And there's no steroid checking anymore, so fucking, let's fucking get some juice.
What are you talking about, Dylan? What are you talking
Jimbos.
about? No, I read on the UFC's website, they have a guy who you have to promise that you haven't taken anything to. And although it's on the phone, he can tell if you've crossed your fingers.
And that's all right, so Don King steals like hundreds of millions of dollars from Mike Tyson? That's pretty sick.
Yeah, he steals hundreds of $millions of from all of them. They all try and sue him. He gets some of them get some back. One of the, I think Mike Tyson's gotten 14 million, and Don King is still enraged about it. Like, just like that was my money. I steal money. You know what I mean? Like, Don King really strikes me as one of those comedy club owners that like is pretty overt with this is a fucking I'm here to fuck you over sort of vibe.
And he's still like doing the rhyming thing. He's still doing the he's still doing his poems before fights. It's just way slower even now that he's 92. Like, he's truly the best. His posse, I just love a posse of old men, and then they fucking steal all your money. Like, if you're Adrian Broner now, who I guess is trying just anything to stay relevant, so he's like, fuck it, I'll go with Don King. It's like,
that's so funny.
It's your fault. You get like an old man who's asking you to help him give him his glasses so he can take 50% of your paycheck is great.
Yeah. Hey, can you give me a hand? I don't know where I put some of your money.
But it would be a heroic, real good last chapter of Don King's life if he somehow figured out how to scam people using AI.
If Don King is able to somehow defraud Jake Paul, I think that's the win we could all use right now. It's been a rough couple of years. How would we all feel if in 6 months it was like, remember Don King? He's got $40 million of one of the Paul brothers' money. I think everyone would be like, this is the best. That's real funny. That's only in America. Only in America.
Yeah, Don King versus Jake Paul instead of Mike Tyson. I think that would pay back all the money.
First of all, Jake Paul A is dead. because I guarantee this is what that 93-year-old man, as soon as they bring up the gloves, you're just going to see a smile go across Don King's face, and then there's just a blade in Jake Paul's gut, and he's just walking away. I didn't have a knife before. Did you see a knife? It wasn't me.
Yeah, he produces a toothbrush that's then suddenly gone, and the referee is putting it in his pocket.
Exactly correct. Yeah.
That's fucked up. But yes, Don King, my favorite person of all time, because only in America could a man like Don King swindle people and then through weird loopholes. Like, this guy was on average being sued 4 times a year. But my favorite part about it is that if you sued him and then it was done, he just pretended it never happened. He would just completely forgive and forget. And then someone was like, how come you're so nice to people that sue you, Don? And he was like, if I was mean to everybody that sued me, I wouldn't hang out with anybody. And then he laughed and walked away. It's like, yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
he's a criminal.
He's a variety of feuds with the WBC and most other boxing promoters, and had to work with all of them, sometimes while still suing each other.
Yeah, and him and Bob Arum were they're still competing to this day, even though they're both older than dirt.
It's so insane that both it's like Bob Arum and Don King are waiting for each other to die, and neither one of them will give the other one the satisfaction.
Probably, honestly, why they're still alive is that once one of them dies, the other one will die. They're like an old couple at this point.
Like, I guarantee that Don King shed no tears for when his wife died, but when he found out that Bob Arum was still alive, he was like, God damn it, Donnie Boy wanted to rest. Donnie Boy will never rest.
And anytime Bob Arum and Don King worked together, it was like one of the biggest fights that boxing could produce at the time.
They promoted them all. Martha Stewart versus the U.S. government. Tickle Joe versus Big Bag of Leaves. Conor McGregor versus the idea of a woman voting.
Well, it's also like so they say that if there's a big boxing fight, the promoter has bought one of the cards. So it's like, and all the Arum King cards, they would each buy a card. So there was really only one person judging the fight, because no matter what happened, I think it was like De La Hoya versus Trinidad. It was the same thing, and Bob Arum went nuts, and Don King was like, I don't know, judge got it right. What can I say? Wake. And it's super funny, like, when he was performing Tito with Tito Trinidad, he couldn't really speak English. He was just speaking Spanish, and he's Puerto Rican, so Don King's waving the Puerto Rican flag, and then Bernard Hopkins would just be like, Don King is a criminal. I'm going to personally fuck everyone in Puerto Rico's wife. And then Don King would be like, only in America. Like, he just said it during the greatest times when people would be like, the N-word isn't strong enough for the slur I'm about to say. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just like...
It's amazing how he's expressing his freedom to say all those things about me, which I somehow agree with.
My only regret about raping Robert Givens is that I couldn't do it again. Only in America.
Only in America would he admit to doing that.
Only in America is that fine.
I mean, what's so nuts is how I like how every boxer of that era has either been rehabilitated or just disappeared, except for Oscar De La Hoya, who is just, to me, is just like, he is the most noticeable man doing cocaine I've ever seen in my life.
That.
Like, just, sir, if most of your house is white and you are always looking tired, I know what you're up to, my friend. Like,
he's also the subject of so many documentaries where he's like, I passed that part of my life and it's done now. And then you just see him like the next day, and he's bleeding, and Sandstorm's just playing on municipal speakers. He's like, "That cost me $50,000 to make that happen."
Yeah, he's also he's delivering he's like, cocaine is behind me, and he's literally covered like a powdered donut. He's like,
yeah.
Well,
literally behind me. There's so much of it behind me.
Yeah, there's a bunch of it behind me. There's a bunch of it in me. The one that's behind me is going to be in me. I'm Oscar De La Hoya.
I'm Oscar De La Hoya. I have a good time.
Whatever happened to the Pazmanian Devil? That was my favorite boxer of
Vinny
the 90s.
Pazienza?
Yeah.
He just kind of sucked.
Yeah, that was the thing. That was the example. This is
have
the
you
thing
heard about Ryan Garcia?
I certainly have not.
You don't know about Ryan Garcia?
Give it to me, baby.
He's a mentally ill man who just beat what's the guy's name? Devin Haney. Devin Haney's supposed to be one of the best up-and-coming boxers. And Ryan Garcia is always basically tweeting at porn stars. He DM'd Clarissa Shields, who's a female Olympic boxer, and he said, "Let me get you pregnant. We'll make a super baby." That was all it said.
I just Googled this guy. First of all, we're doing an episode about Ryan Garcia coming up. Here are just the top 4 headlines, and this is all within the last day. Ryan Garcia hits Rodeo Drive after welfare check at hotel. Ryan Garcia's family calls for police check after an incident at the Waldorf Astoria. California residents dismantle Ryan Garcia's bizarre prediction. Ryan Garcia's drug test saga continues as information is released and a time scale is revealed. And you're just like,
yeah,
now this right here is a fighter.
Well, he most of his social media presence for a while was about what?
Slamming puss.
Pedophiles, and how the elite are all pedophiles, and he's seen it because he's been to the meetings, and he knows that the elite are trying to suck off. They have a bunch of kids, and also like I think you said this before, but it's like you think the elite are trying to suck off a bunch of kids, and you're like, time to do some welfare fraud.
Yeah.
That's why, first things first, the elite are trying to suck off kids. Rather than become a vigilante against that cause, I've decided to get the check that a single mom needs.
Yeah, someone's fucking these kids, and there's only one way to fund my crusade of posting Facebook posts about it to my limited family and friends, and that is, of course, to rob this 7-Eleven.
Yeah, pretty much. But he beat one of the best boxers. Anyway, his promoter is Oscar De La Hoya, so... That is a press conference of a man who's fat and on cocaine, and another guy being like, Epstein's Island's just the beginning. And he's like, yeah, we're got a lot of business ideas, a lot of ideas. So that's entertainment right there.
I got to tell you that. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. We need to go back to making sure, we need to put scumbags back to where they are, and Oscar De La Hoya is doing God's work, because the boxing promoter that is the bed bug of the sports figure world, and Oscar De La Hoya is doing the fucking God's work by showing up. I guarantee Ryan Garcia's next press conference, he's showing up, no pants, no shirt, underwear, still wearing his jewelry, acting like that was all part of the plan. It's hot in here.
Oh yeah, or immaculate suit, dick pulled through the zipper only. That's good.
Correct. Is your dick out? Maybe.
Only.
Dylan, we have to end the episode now. I'm literally about to shit myself. Goodbye.
Okay, enjoy. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening. Rate, review, and rate.
Review.